So for those of you who don't know, the Timescales is a community website where they're like big fans of Big Finish audio and the expanded universe, the expanded medium of like Doctor Who audio adventures, and there's a community website where people can post their own reviews. It's basically just like the ultimate fans consensus website, essentially. They also have a social media account which had a bit of a mare this morning, completely random and unprovoked. They also have a YouTube channel as well, which has played host to several personalities within the Doctor Who universe, including, Big Finish writers and such. We'll get to that in a minute. But they posted a 1,500 word screed, which I responded to. So they deleted it. The post is deleted. But when I did this tweet, it took you an almost 1,500 word tweet to ask, is Russell T Davies a paedophile because he's gay? In order to get, I was like, how long is this? So I copied and pasted it into wordcounter.com. 1,467 word tweet. And because it's word counter, it saved the whole screed. So we can actually read this in its entirety, what the Timescales mod, or the head of this Twitter account, said about Russell T Davies, randomly, unprompted, nothing motivated this, just randomly tweeted this out in the early afternoon today. I will do a dramatic reading. I just wonder, what about all of these people that claim that Russell T Davies has used Doctor Who to not only groom, but actively attempt to subject minors and underage children to question their sexual identities? What if Russell T Davies was actually a sexual predator? I've been asking this since 2005, not accusing, just asking. I have never said that he was. I've always just been asking if this is possible. Is Russell T Davies a sexual predator, or could he be? Or could someone in his position possibly be? Certainly, BBC would have check and balances to prevent such, right? Anyone at all? They would be able to stop or prevent such, right? I'm not saying that he is at all. I am just asking, once again, is it possible that this man is a sexual predator, using not only Doctor Who, yet any media that he can to install his own sexual beliefs, children or adults? Just asking, is that possible? Is Russell T Davies using Ncuti Gatwa as his own personal dress-up Ken doll to satisfy his own sexual agenda or fantasies? Wow, that would be terrible, would it not? What if he was actually doing that and we all just ignored it? There have been way too many questions presented as to if this is fact or fiction to simply ignore it as possible fiction. There is no way that any of this is happening before our very eyes since 2005, right? It's just Doctor Who. We can't believe our own eyes at all. All hail RTD. Kids should be taught to learn that they might be gay or trans by Doctor Who. After all, Doctor Who was designed to influence minors into questioning their own sexual agendas, right? Since 1963. They, as minors, should be confused, and Russ T Davies is their saviour, as he is granted carte blanche along with the other two members of the three, the boys' club with Chibnall and Moffat, the only three men responsible for Doctor Who in the last quarter of a century. We should trust all of them, and not ever expect one of them to violate the franchise, even if it comes down to a raw sexual or revenge scenario. All hail to the boys' club of the 21st... I'm not even a quarter of the way through it, folks. It just keeps going like this. I'm not even like quarter of the way through. Like I said, a 1,500 word unprompted screed that will take, according to this website, over 8 minutes just to read. I've been wondering this since 2005, and now this dude is back, and now it seems he is putting more sex into Doctor Who than ever due to his own personal agendas. How and why are you British people allowing this guy to turn Doctor Who into his own personal sexual fetish, even using Ncuti, a great actor, as a personal dress-up Ken doll, which is obviously for a fetish? How do you British people explain it? We can all see it. Do you British now have no control over Doctor Who other than what Russ T Davies is doing with his own personal sexual agendas? They are extremely obvious over here, so being polite and dismissive of them is kind of off the table now. You guys appear to have a sexual predator running Doctor Who, and why can't that be stopped? So in other words, he's no longer just asking questions, he is just saying, you guys appear to have a sexual predator running Doctor Who, and why can't that be stopped? So at first it's like, I'm just asking questions, I'm just asking, I'm just saying that because he could do it, he actually is doing it. And because I'm just asking questions, it means that I'm actually super smart. I am an ignorant American, and I am not making any accusations. One of those two statements there was correct. I am just wondering, and I think it is completely fair to wonder, is it possible in British culture for this guy to be an uncontrolled child predator, using Doctor Who to send messages of his own agendas? I think that is a very fair question. I am not accusing, I am just asking, is it possible? So yeah. So the Timescales tweets this unprompted. Like I said, nothing provoked this. Just out of the blue. And then, in deleted posts, he was saying, this is my most popular post ever. I'm getting so much engagement, getting so much popularity from this, etc., etc. And then, he tweets something along the lines of, one second, let's see if he's actually, what the remnants of this are. Let's see if, one second, I think he's deleted all of the tweets. The Timescales apology, or explanation, said with the identical vibes of Sir Norman Fry Little Britain sketches, when David Walliams is reading from a terrible apology sheet. The Timescales' apology was that they were watching a live stream of someone who said all of that stuff. They used an AI generator, an AI program or whatever, to try and transcribe what was said in the live stream, accidentally tweeted it out without the link to the YouTube video in question, and when people who obviously didn't buy the apology at all, or the explanation at all, asked the Timescales Twitter account, who was the live stream by? Who said it? Can you link us the video? They did not, which I think proves it was absolute bullshit. This 1,500 word, completely unhinged madness, I must stress from the Timescales, who over the course of today have lost several hundred followers, have been disowned by several Big Finish writers and official Doctor Who creatives who have done interviews and podcasts with the Timescales before, because they've got quite a prolific YouTube channel. Obviously, when you are like one of the Big Finish review websites, when I did a positive review of a Big Finish box set last year, I won't name names, so not that I think it would like be bad to the person, I just won't out of respect. They asked me if I would also review it on the Timescales website, and I said I don't want to do that. So, like, you know, not disrespectful to the writer, because it was a very glowing review of their story that I did. But yeah, so, you know, Ian Levine, obviously, people like Georgia Cook as well, I think I've associated with them before. We've got a bunch of Big Finish writers and loads of Big Finish creatives. Dominic G. Martin as well, who was asking them how on earth did this happen, etc., etc. John Walsh, Michael Herbert, Alex Patterson, Andy Hardwick, Andrew Lane, Colin Howard, etc., etc., Bethany Weimers, Nigel Fairs, Gareth Preston. They've done an awful lot of interviews, and over the course of today, an awful lot of those people have basically said, if I'd known what the person behind the website was like, I would have just completely not associated with them. It appears they've pinned another explanation. Holy shit, you're right, breaking story 4 minutes ago. Hi folks, this is Grego, or Greggio, really. Without going into detail, I've become a victim of several crimes, one of which is impersonation. For people that saw what happened, it should have been quite obvious that it was not me. I'm having to get a new phone and it has been reported. It was several of my accounts. I will update more when I can. Thank you for your patience. For those of you with my email address and or phone are welcome to contact me starting tomorrow when I have a new phone. For those of you who just listen to these podcasts or these live streams, I slowly had the Little Britain Sir Norman Fry apology image appear on the screen as I was reading that. So the Timescales, when they tweeted that out, it took them several hours for them to remove it. And in response to the backlash they got, which was viewed like 10,000 times on Twitter but didn't have a single like, which I don't think I've ever seen happen. The Timescales tweeted, "Awesome, my most popular tweet ever, and so much hate thrown at me. I love it. Is it possible that Rusty Davis is using Doctor Who as his own personal sexual agendas? Wow, never got so much hate posts by just asking questions and making no conclusions. Amazing, now I need to see if I can do that again. Lol." And somebody, Paul McDonald, says, always thought timescales was a useful resource, but I can't in good conscience support it any longer. Absolutely appalling post. Timescales responded, Paul, you never supported it to begin with, and if you are against freedom of speech and open discussion as to if Rusty Davis is using Dot 2 as a tool to project his own personal sexual agendas, stick to what you feel is safe and comfortable. Cheers. Now, does this response read as somebody who accidentally posted an AI transcript of a bigoted YouTube video, and when you asked them who was the YouTube video by, if the video no longer exists because you never linked it so it didn't get brigaded by reports or whatever, does this doesn't add up, but this massively contradicts everything that he'd been saying in the past. What I need you folks to kind of understand from this story, though, obviously, like, if you follow the timescales, probably don't do that anymore. What I would highly recommend is just taking to heart the idea that what the timescales believes about Russell T Davis, about queer people generally working in the TV and film industry, Russell T Davis, Ncuti Gatwa, etc., etc. This is not an anomaly. This, believe it or not, is just the average, everyday, mainstream, conservative opinion. Stuff like this is what Graham Linehan just says randomly on Twitter. He, the other day as well, was calling Russell T Davis a pedophile because he's a gay man. End of sentence, obviously. Like, that was it. Just Russell T Davis is a gay man. Obviously, he's a pedophile. I sure hope Russell T Davis feels like being a bit litigious, especially after what Graham Linehan said about David Tennant when he was wearing the non-binary pin and was supporting LGBTQ plus people in the run-up to the 60th anniversary, doing the press statements and the promotions and stuff, just saying Russell T Davis supports queer people. He's obviously a pedophile. I sure hope that they're able to use that as priors to show that Graham Linehan does have a track record for this obvious slander and libel. So, but what we need to understand is that people like Graham Linehan and the timescales is just, in 2024, the year of our Lord, the year of our Rassilon, is just the mainstream conservative position. This is not an anomaly. This is not some aberration. This is just what they believe now. Obviously not, not all conservatives. But if people who self-identify as conservatives, who make that their identity online and in person, their personal and public life and such, that is just what they believe. Unambiguously. I've been following this stuff for about 10 years. And I want folks to understand that when you get people like, your Nerdrotics, Heels versus Babyface, Critical Drinker, etc., etc., they all think this. Or even if they don't personally believe it, they will communicate it. They will signal it to their audience because they have nothing left. In terms of arguments, they have none. In terms of data and facts, none of it's on their side. So this is what they have to resort to. Always has been, but now in 2024 it's just become more apparent and obvious than ever. They have no concrete ideological positions, so they just... we even saw this in the Bolstrike video that I responded to and reacted to. Just, he had no responses, no rebuttals, no arguments, just calling me and my audience pedophiles. That's all they have. It's all they have left. Because they have nothing else rhetorically effective to use. And I certainly hope that people like Russell T Davis do feel like maybe bringing the hammer down on people like Graham Linehan. We did see this past week, I think, Lawrence Fox, he called a drag queen a pedophile on Twitter and has had to pay out hundreds of thousands of pounds because he obviously slandered and libeled people on social media. And he's had to pay up a very significant cash settlement for it. And we should really, really be seeing more of this. But I want you folks to know, this is not an anomaly. This is just what conservatives in 2024 believe. And I think that fans need to be ready for this. I thought it was like £90,000. £18,000. I thought it was way more. Yeah, 180,000. Oh, yeah, okay. It was a typo from Connor. Oh, yeah, you happy with it? Yeah. Oh, I was right. Yeah, £180,000 to both people, £90,000 each. So, yeah, I don't think that fans were ready in 2018 when Jodie Whittaker was in the lead up for being the first female Doctor. And that went from Jodie Whittaker hates men, Jodie Whittaker is anti-men, anti-white, anti-Doctor Who fan, to Chris Chibnall is a secret Jew who wants to get rid of all of the white people. That narrative happened in about a year. And that narrative has not shifted since 2018 from Conservatives. Sometimes it expands to that sitting MP who said, that clown, that Jodie Whittaker is one of the reasons why there is an increase in stabbings in the UK. My advice is to know their talking points. Super easy. They're all the same talking points. And also know the facts to rebuke them. Also easy, because the facts are on our side. Remembering John the White claiming that Jodie and Mandip were together and her marriage is a sham. Oh yeah. Just all the time. Constant lying, and they know it. I think that we need to be aware that it's going to be like 2018, but times 1,000 in the coming year. It's an election year. The Conservatives, Lee Anderson even said explicitly that the election plan, this was before he defected to Reform, he even said explicitly that the Conservative plan is culture war, is to lie so much, is to make their followers so radicalized and unhinged and so detached from reality that they vote against their own interests. He said this. He said this in an interview. The thing about Lee Anderson and many modern conservatives is that they are so stupid that they don't actually hide their tactics because they're just so inept. So, we need to understand that it's going to be like 2018 times 1,000. And we need to be ready for that. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I don't begrudge the Big Finish associates and writers and creatives who did interviews with the timescales and anyone else who affiliated with the timescales. I don't blame them or begrudge them, because what we've kind of noticed, particularly with transphobia, is that it is essentially almost like a mental illness, where it is, I don't even mean that to say that as like an ableist way, but just in like, once you become transphobic, it becomes your life. Transphobia becomes your number one obsession. J.K. Rowling went from a highly respected, acclaimed author of children's books and movies to just a Nazi who's now like denying like the Holocaust on Twitter. It took a few years, but that's what transphobia did to her brain. Graham Linehan lost his whole family and his career because he just heard about trans people, and that just ruined his brain. So, be aware of who we're dealing with and the type of people we're dealing with. Or at least, yeah, whether it's parts or the whole, it's still, in Germany and with the Auschwitz Museum, they still classify that as Holocaust denial. Fascism on the rise globally, UK, US, Italy, Germany, India, and of course Russia and Israel. The whole world is facing these. Yeah, well, it is the failures of like neoliberalism, which have like not put the power structures in place to stop anti-democratic means from trying to get power. We saw this with like Kanye West as well. Like, he went from just, oh, I'm open to conservative ideas, to I love Hitler in like 2 years. Why do you think fascism has become so mainstream? Because conservatism has failed. Conservatism as a political ideology has completely failed. And those who are still in charge in those conservative power structures want to stay in power, but they've lost the argument. Their ideology is trash. It doesn't produce any good results for anyone except the bourgeois, the capitalist owner class. So they just go for the fascism. It's easy. Like, for them, it's easy, I mean.